In 1997, 45 miles off the coast of Java, local fishermen uncovered a hidden secret that had been buried in the ocean for millennia. This shipwreck, dating back to the 11th century CE, contained an extremely diverse cargo, over 2,700 artifacts originating from all over Asia. This treasure hoard, unique in its material and cultural diversity, provides a glimpse of a vibrant yet lesser-known chapter of humanity. While history textbooks usually focus on the Silk Road trade and the European Renaissance when it comes to the 10th to 16th century, less people know of the prosperous Renaissance that occurred simultaneously in the Indian Ocean. From the 900s to the 1500s, the Indian Ocean states experienced an exponential growth in trade and interconnectivity. Travelers such as Ibn Battuta were at the forefront of this cultural movement, and through their travels, they witnessed firsthand the powerful effect that exchange and encounter had on globalization. They saw how these exchanges brought on an explosion of cultural diversity and catalyzed the spread of new ideas, helping to shape the world that we see today.
By the 10th century, Indian Ocean traders had mastered monsoon patterns, using this yearly cycle of winds as a catalyst for trade. Monsoons propelled ships from India to East Africa, from China to Indonesia, reversing in the summer to bring traders home. This mastery of the seasonal winds allowed travelers to frequent thousands of miles in the pursuit of riches, religion, and knowledge while facilitating the diffusion of new ideas. One such traveler was Ibn Battuta, whose accounts document the interconnectivity of the Indian Ocean during this time. In 1325, Ibn Battuta set off from his home in Morocco. Like many devout Muslim travelers, he was determined to complete the Hajj to Mecca. From Morocco, Battuta traveled to Cairo, where he first encountered a donation-supported hostel. This network of hostels, stretching all over the Muslim world, was built specifically to house Muslim scholars and travelers. These hostels were funded by wealthy patrons and helped encourage traveling, trading, and the spreading of ideas. This desire for spreading knowledge is not unique to the Muslim world, as a similar network is seen in Buddhist monasteries providing hospitality to all Buddhist travelers, and a parallel can even be drawn with wandering Jewish scholars in the Jewish world. These hostels help to spread ideas, religion, and culture across thousands of miles, and was a main cause for the interconnectivity that we see during this time period.
Leaving Egypt, Battuta traveled to Arabia, the heartland of Indian Ocean trade. Previously, the establishment of the Abbasid Caliphate had brought political and economic stability to the region. As Muslim traders traversed the Indian Ocean, they spread their religion amongst the people they encountered. The spread of Islam during this time was facilitated almost entirely by trade and social encounters rather than missionaries. Compared to the European Renaissance, little conscious effort was made in this quiet religious work, and forced conversions were rare. Yet Islam spread thousands of miles, assimilating into cultures all over the world, providing a testament to the interconnectivity of the Indian Ocean during this time. In Arabia, Ibn Battuta found his way into the courts of many kings and rulers who encouraged and funded wandering scholars. As Battuta traveled, he noted the striking similarities between all the courts that he traveled to, whether they be Muslim, Hindu, or animist. Time and time again, the royalty in different parts of the world seemed to adopt the same symbols and flag standards regardless of the local culture, such as the parasol and the fly whisk. Even court ceremonies indigenous to one culture quickly spread to surrounding courts. The custom for a king to chew betel leaf and areca nut originated in India, where both of these plants are native species. However, by Ibn Battuta's time, this tradition was observed in courts stretching from the Middle East to East Africa, and even traces in Southeast Asia. This exchange of religions and tradition was a major theme of this time period, as seemingly isolated empires soon became culturally intertwined. This rapid spread of culture was not limited to the courts of kings, but also dramatically affected daily life, as seen in the Swahili coast, Ibn Battuta's next stop.
The East African city-states marked the western terminus of Indian Ocean trade and included cities such as Mogadishu, Mombasa, Kilwa, and Sofala, key players in the gold, slave, horse, ivory, and cotton trades. These Swahili states were born out of Indian Ocean trade. The Swahili coast location on the eastern side of Africa made it an appealing destination for long-distance trade, and as a result, trading posts grew rapidly into flourishing cities. Even the culture of these city-states reflects the synergetic nature of Indian Ocean. The Swahili culture and language developed from constant interactions between Arab and African traders, creating a distinct culture that is still seen today. A similar phenomenon occurred in Southeast Asia, where the intellectual influences and economic benefits that Indian Ocean trade provided became the building blocks of Southeast Asian civilization. The power of Southeast Asian city-states such as Angkor and Malacca was centered around the lucrative spice trade, and as Indian Ocean trade increased, so did their significance. The Swahili coast and Southeast Asian city-states epitomize how these countless Indian Ocean exchanges and encounters were powerful and influential enough to build new nations, new cultures, and dramatically change the geography of the world. After the Swahili coast, Batuta arrived in India, the central hub for Indian Ocean trade. Traveling across India, Batuta noted the richness of trade being conducted in cities such as Mangalore and Calicut. These South Indian kingdoms made for an attractive destination for foreign traders from China to East Africa. Each of these civilizations brought their own unique customs, ideas, and goods that were constantly being exchanged with one another. Due to its central location on the Indian Ocean, traders embarking on long journeys between China and Africa would often use India as a place to rest, interact, and exchange ideas, taking these new ideas and insights back to their homelands. India's geographic position, combined with its economic appeal, made it both a valuable destination for foreign traders and a key catalyst in the exchange of ideas.
In the 1340s, Ibn Battuta left India to travel to China, where he met the last Mongol emperor Togon Timur. During this time, China was a key player in the Indian Ocean, trading manufactured goods such as silk, porcelain, iron, and mirrors. Before the Mongol Empire, the Tang and Song dynasties of China expanded maritime trade along the Indian Ocean, but it was Kublai Khan who extensively utilized China's wealth for maritime purposes. Kublai saw opportunities in the Indian Ocean and initiated a massive shipbuilding program that continued into the early Ming dynasty. Following on Kublai's vision was the Ming Emperor Zhu Di, who ordered a massive fleet of trade ships to be constructed, most notably building large treasure ships, the largest ships on the ocean during this time. Chinese innovation in naval technology was also at an all-time high. One important invention was the compass, which proved to be a valuable tool for maritime navigation. The Chinese also pioneered technologies such as watertight compartments and bulkheads, which allowed traders to navigate the violent storms of Southeast Asia. China's shift towards maritime trade was one of the reasons why the Indian Ocean trade peaked in the 13 to 1400s. In 1405, a brilliant admiral by the name of Zheng He took command of the Chinese trade fleet. He led 7 extensive maritime expeditions traveling from Nanjing to the Swahili coast, which established new trade routes, promoted legitimate trade by suppressing piracy and smuggling, and partook in diplomacy between China and its surrounding empires. He first visited Calicut, Sri Lanka, and Southeast Asia, and cleared the Malacca Straits of pirates. His 5th and 6th voyages were ordered to escort home ambassadors from 17 and 19 countries respectively, who had journeyed to China on diplomatic missions. Chinese ships explored the coast of East Africa, traveling farther in this time period than they ever had or will for centuries to come. The extensive journeys of Zheng He exemplified the prosperity and globalized society born out of the Indian Ocean Renaissance. On a later voyage, Zheng He erected a stone pillar on the island of Sri Lanka with inscriptions praising Buddha, Siva, and Allah written in Chinese, Tamil, and Persian as a celebration of the cultural heterogeneity of the Indian Ocean. Unfortunately, Zhu Di's successor, a staunch Confucian, did not share his same vision.
Confucian philosophy, I think, stressed that the empire should be self-sufficient, that trade was really unnecessary. You didn't want foreigners interfering in your country.
And in 1424, he banned further expeditions, burning treasure ships and their blueprints so such a fleet may never be built again. Meanwhile, in Arabia, the newcomer Portuguese traders began a campaign to monopolize the spice trade, blockading crucial straits and attacking major cities, causing a steady decline of Indian Ocean trade. By the time the British arrived in the Indian Ocean in the 17th century, the vibrancy and cultural interconnectivity of the past had long been destroyed, and the Indian Ocean Renaissance became a lost chapter in humanity's storybook. The Indian Ocean Renaissance remains an important part of our history, influencing the world in profound ways still felt today. During this time period, the blossoming of Indian Ocean trade allowed for significant social, economic, and technological progress to be achieved. The countless exchanges that transpired between merchants of different ethnicities proved fundamental to the diffusion of culture and traditions. Diplomacy and cultural diversity reached an all-time high. During this time period, intellectual pursuit became more than a luxury, as both traveling and the spread of ideas were readily encouraged. New nations, new cultures were born from this trade, and religions such as Islam spread in the most successful, peaceful conversion in history. The story of the Indian Ocean Renaissance exemplifies the importance of communication, cultural diversity, and the pursuit of new ideas. Innovation, encounter, and exchange are the drivers of progress, and these factors are crucial to the improvement of society. These are all important lessons that can impact the future of humanity, making the Indian Ocean Renaissance a story too important to be forgotten.